had not taken any singing lessons purposely because I knew that the emotion in my singing was a thing in the long run that was going to sell me. So I just stayed with that and let my own style just come naturally. Everything I've done in my career, it's not packaged, but planned very, very carefully. I mean, my manager and I sit down and think, is this the right move? We never think for the moment, we always think in the long run. I think I was one of the first artists to bring the fusion of American music and European music together, and it works very well for me because there's something simpatico, I think, about European music, you know, and if you put the American approach to it, it really is a beautiful combination. I have a very deep voice and a lot of bottom on my voice. It's good in ways that it's very expressive, I think, because you can use it and you can put breath into it and almost half speak a note instead of singing it. Or you can sing it full with a full round tone.
Laura Branigan. She's currently touring America to rave reviews, and she's just released her third album, Self-Control, also to rave reviews. But that might be expected from someone whose name means young raven. It also means one other thing.
Branigan? Well, in typical Irish talk, it means barroom brawl. You know, a fighter. So they're down the street having a Branigan. But my mother heard me say that in an interview, and she says, how could you say that? She says, don't you know the true Gaelic word means young raven? So it has a double meaning.
When it comes to talent, there's a single meaning for Laura Branigan, and that's superstar. A superstar with an incredible voice.
I have a great singing teacher, Carlo Minotti. And he's just incredible. He's really taught me so much about my voice and about, you know, stamina and how to support it. If you don't support, it goes, because the vocal cords are just like thin little rubber bands in the back of your throat. It's not like a steel guitar. And you really have to take care of it and know what you're doing, especially when you have a lot to carry. And he's taught me that I had a range that I didn't know anything about. He says you're just starting in terms of development, which is exciting for me.
And exciting for anyone who's ever heard Laura Branigan's voice. A voice that may be in just the developing stages, but one that already has international appeal. Her performance of one song from her latest album won the grand prize at the 13th Tokyo Music Festival. That tune is called The Lucky One, and it's also moving right up the music charts in America.
Oh, I love that song. It's written by a very good friend of mine, Bruce Roberts, who's written things for Streisand and Donna Summer. Anyway, I did that song for a TV movie, and it was only half a song then, and then I said, Bruce, I love this. You've got to finish it for my album. And he did. And here it is.
You can break away, or you can stay. You choose your life, you're free to fly. Go on and fly. Go on and fly. She had it in her all the time to get away and try to find somewhere to go, to run. She saw the world through open eyes and never let a soul inside. Don't come too close, so close. Baby thinks she's smart, but what about her heart? Like a wild bird of prey, like a thief in the night. You can take what you want and you don't think twice. 'Cause the world's in your hands, you got all you want, and you won't change a thing. You're the lucky one. Oh, the lucky one. Oh, the lucky one. Her soul was strong, her heart was tough, and when she felt she had enough, she tore herself away. Love in the dark is all you see. Get what you want, not what you need. You look the other way. Never letting on what it's all become. Like a wild bird of prey, like a thief in the night. You can take what you want and you don't think twice. 'Cause the world's in your hands and you got all you want, and you won't change a thing. You're the lucky one. Oh, the lucky one. Oh, the lucky one.
Life is a dream, the lucky one, the lucky one, the lucky one. Life is a dream, the lucky one. Life is a dream, the lucky one, the lucky one.
Baby thinks she's smart, but what about her heart? Like a wild bird of prey, like a thief in the night. You can take what you want and you don't think twice. 'Cause the world's in your hands and you got all you want, and you won't change a thing. You're the lucky one. Oh, the lucky one. Oh, the lucky one. Oh, the lucky one. Oh, the lucky one.
Lucky Laura Branigan on her own, all alone, with a top 5 hit. After this on The Hot Ones. She says she's shy. Laura Branigan just might be in her personal life, but professionally, especially when she was just starting out, that's another story.
I pounded the pavement, knocked on doors, and I was so determined and obsessed and thought of nothing else. It was really hard at first because you're all alone in the city and you say, now where do I start? And I started auditioning for musicals and then landed my first job with singing background for Leonard Cohen. And while I was on road with him in Europe, and I was actually getting paid, it was my first paying job, I started writing songs and thinking about myself as a soloist, and came back and decided to start my own career as a singer.
In order to get her foot in the performing door, back before anyone knew what a singing sensation she would actually be, Laura Branigan took advantage of the Actors Union, called Equity.
Well, I went on one cattle call once to a musical, and I said, I am never doing this again. So what I did was I'd go to Equity, I was not a part of Equity, and look up on the board and find out what musicals were being done and what part I was right for. And I'd get the producer's number, and I'd call him up. And I'd say to the secretary, he's expecting my call, and he'd get on. I'd say, hello, this is Laura Branigan. I said, Mr. So-and-so. I said, I'm absolutely perfect for this part, and I have an incredible voice, and you really should hear it.
It worked nearly every time, says Laura Branigan. She did land auditions and soon landed a recording contract as well. One of the songs Laura Branigan has since recorded turned out to be part of 1983's most popular movie soundtrack, Flashdance.
Well, Phil Ramone was the executive producer on the Flashdance album, and he's also a wonderful producer. And I had known him and always looked forward to working with him. I know we will someday again. He called up and wanted me to sing the song Imagination on there. And I went in and I sang Imagination. And Phil's great because he gives you complete freedom. I mean, he really tunes into what you are about as an artist and lets you roll with it.
He says that he can read my mind, the power to turn iron into gold. She says she's seen the other side, knows the place the fire burns all night. There is an answer to the question. So long ago, it's a hard new life every day. Once you have it, it never goes away. Oh, it's in the pocket when you really, really look it. When your fantasy becomes a reality, living inside the imagination. It's in the pocket when you really, really look it. When your fantasy becomes a reality, living inside the imagination. The magic of the secret door. I can take you down and show you more. It's easy once you know the way. It's farther than the closest thing you are. You've got to walk right through that fire. It will not burn you. And the ones who may last all their life won't make it to just burn away. It's in the pocket when you really, really lock it. When your fantasy becomes a reality, living inside the imagination. It's in the pocket when you really, really lock it. When your fantasy becomes reality, living inside the imagination. You've got to walk right through the fire. It will not burn you. And the ones who may last all their life won't make it to just burn away.
Oh. 1983 was a good year for Laura Branigan. In addition to her musical contributions to the Flashdance film, her first hit song Gloria was also included in part of the movie. She released her second album. It's called Branigan 2, and the first song released from the LP, Solitaire, went straight up the music chart, settling in the top 5. Laura Branigan says Solitaire was especially important to her because it showed she could follow her first top-of-the-chart tune with another, that she certainly wasn't a one-hit wonder.
What you really want to do is establish yourself as an artist, and Solitaire did that. Showed myself as a real vocalist, a real singer, and also Solitaire was about my emotion. It was an emotional song, you know, and it was coming from, I wasn't singing to someone else, I was singing about myself.
I still remember how much I used to need you. Tried so hard to please you, but you didn't need me. You knew care. All the cards were held by you. There was nothing I could do. All those nights I sat alone, staring at the telephone, wondering were you ever coming home. Solitaire, it got so lonely. Solitaire, no one to hold me. Where were you when I played solitaire? It took some time, but I stopped thinking about you. Started living without you. Now look who's back here. You've had a change of heart, and mine just couldn't wait. No, no, you found out you loved me just a little too late. Once the cards were held by you, now there's nothing you can do. All those nights you sit alone, staring at the telephone, wondering if I'm ever coming home. Solitaire, see what it's like now. Solitaire, to cry all night now. Solitaire, see how it feels to play. Solitaire, it gets so lonely. Solitaire, you wanna hold me. Don't wait upon me, I won't be there. Solitaire, see what it's like now. Solitaire, to cry all night now. Solitaire, see how it feels to play. Solitaire, it gets so lonely. Solitaire, you wanna hold me. Don't wait upon me, I won't be
Solitaire's successor with Laura Branigan after this on The Hot Ones. Laura Branigan. She's been compared to the immortal little sparrow of France, Edith Piaf. And Laura Branigan says the French chanteuse is one of her all-time idols.
When I first came to New York, some French friends of mine, this woman, Monique, gave me her record, and I had this tiny little record player that was plastic. It cost something like $28. And I put her records on. It's all I'd listen to because her heart just jumped right out of her throat when she sang.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal, tout ça m'est bien égal.
She had a tremendous story to her life. I don't know if you've ever read the book Piaf by Simone Berthaud, which is her half-sister, but you should. She was just put everything she had into it, you know, and into her films and into her singing, and she touched people's hearts everywhere.
When Edith Piaf died, 100,000 people visited her home in France to pay their last respects. And every Piaf recording in every shop in Paris was immediately bought by Piaf fans.
She was a tiny little woman. She was something like 4'7", and she sang with such gusto and had a big voice, you know. She lived life with gusto. Nothing stopped her.
Laura Branigan certainly does take after her idol in the gusto department and in another way. They share an extensive range in the vocal department.
In a range, an octave is 8 notes. If you take a keyboard and you look at it, you count every 8 notes, and that's 1 octave, and then you count another, that's 2, then that's 3, then that's 4. So mine covers about 2 feet.
The length of Laura Branigan's vocal range can be heard on any of her albums. But on Branigan 2, it's easy to hear on the ballad that was a #1 song during the fall of 1983. It's called How Am I Supposed to Live Without You? And Laura Branigan says she loved it the very first time she heard it.
Wally Roker and I were on our way to Houston. Wally's my manager's partner. He says, I have this ballad for you that you must hear. Well, usually when you hear a ballad, you're always a little tentative to hear a ballad as something that you might record. I heard 3 bars of the music, and I just looked, and we both had the headphones on in the plane, and we rewound that tape. We listened to it about 100 times between Los Angeles and Houston. And I just love the song. I got there, and I called Susan, my manager. I said, put a hold on that song. It's a real little tearjerker.
Coming up on the Hot Ones, Laura Branigan counts to 3 for self-control. Self-Control. That's the title of Laura Branigan's 3rd and latest album.
I feel I had more control on this album. I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew what I was. Whereas the first one I was still finding myself a little. The second I got a little bit more solidity, and now here I am.
On Laura Branigan's Self-Control album, she pays tribute to a 24-year-old classic. Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow was a #1 song for the Shirelles in late 1960. It was co-written by Carole King, who also recorded her own version of the song on her Tapestry album.
So tell me now, and I won't ask again. Will you still love me tomorrow?
I'm real happy to have it on. I mean, she's an incredible songwriter. And it also shows a part of me that hasn't not been shown yet, because it's just plain piano and voice with a tiny bit of string in the background. And it really is almost just naked out there.
And on her first concert tour, Laura Branigan says her version of Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow brought her a standing ovation at Carnegie Hall in New York City.
Tonight you're mine completely. You gave your love so sweetly. Tonight the light of love is in your eyes. But will you love me tomorrow? Is this a lasting treasure, or just a moment? Pleasure. Can I believe the magic of your side? Will you still love me tomorrow? Tonight with words unspoken, you say that I'm the only one, but will my heart
when the night meets the morning sun. I'd like to know that your love is a love I can be sure of. So tell me now, and I won't ask again. Will you still love me tomorrow? Tell me now, and I won't ask again. Will you still love me? Will you still love me? Will you still love me tomorrow?
Laura Branigan says her ability to belt out a ballad like Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow was probably inherited, since a beautiful singing voice is something one of her relatives had.
My grandmother had it. Her parents stopped her from going to be what I think would have been one of the great opera singers of the world. She had a beautiful, beautiful voice. And it was a contralto, and she could throw her head back and sing and make people cry. I mean, she just lost herself in her songs. And we'd always sing around the dinner table, and my father could harmonize. He had a great ear for harmony. And my mother sang, but she had a beautiful lyric soprano voice, but it was, she went flat every once in a while. Her ear wasn't as good as my father's and my grandmother's. So I think that's where it came from. And the Irish in me.
The Irish Laura Branigan sings in Italian on her latest album, Self-Control. Ti Amo shares the same musical composer as Laura Branigan's first hit song, Gloria, and she says she has big hopes for its musical future.
Ti Amo is also written by Umberto Tozzi. Great Italian song. Lyrics by Diane Warren, who's written a number of songs for me. We rewrote the lyrics. And it's such a beautiful song. It's a waltz, really. Ti Amo, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, na. It's the kind of song I think, I definitely think it'll be a big one for me. Ti Amo, God, how I love you so. My heart just won't let go. Day after day, I'm still holding on, even though you're gone. Ti Amo, wasn't I good to you? I did all that I could do to make you want to be here with me. I thought you loved me. I can't believe you could just turn and leave. You did it so easily. You pulled my world out from under me. Look what you done to me. How could you end it this way? After the love that we made. God, how I wish you had stayed. Can't you see that? I just want you back. Ti Amo. I never had a clue that I was losing you. You never once let me know you were letting me go. Oh, I guess it was there in your eyes. Guess it was there in your sighs. Guess it was there in your lies.
Laura Branigan grew up in upstate New York, and she says that had a significant influence on her ability to interpret tunes.
That's where everything in my performing comes from. I really used to just spend all my time, I had a lot of time alone, you know, out climb a tree, wait for the wind to come, and always running barefoot and stuff. I think a lot of my emotion came from growing up there and really knowing my inner self, you know. And you have to do that in order to be able to, I think, let it out and feel, you know, especially on stage, because if you don't feel it, the audience won't.
The title song from Laura Branigan's Self-Control album was one tune audiences everywhere could relate to. It was in the top 5 in June, and Laura Branigan says one of the best things about Self-Control was using her acting skills in the video, which was directed by William Friedkin,
who is one of the great American directors, did French Connection, The Exorcist, Boys in the Band, and a million others. I know he's really a very colorful director. He's a real genius. Working with him was such an experience. You know, we created the story together, and to see when we went to shoot it, what he did with his mad mind, you know, when I saw it come alive, it's just really something.
Laura Branigan says the video for Self-Control doesn't exactly follow the words of the song word by word.
What we didn't want to do is have it, you know, lyric by lyric by lyric, by picture by picture. So it's a real storyline, has a beginning and an ending, but it's really about, you know, self-control is about the seduction of night upon me. You know, you take my self-control. Oh, the night is my world. And that's exactly what the story is about.
Oh, the night is my world. City lights, painted girl. In the day, nothing matters. It's the night, time that matters. In the night, no control. Through the wall, something breaking. Wearing white as you're walking down the street of my soul. You take my self-control. You got me living only for the night. Before the morning comes, the story's told. You take my self-control. Another night, another day goes by. I never stop myself to wonder why. You have me to forget to play my role. You take my self-control. I live among the creatures of the night. I haven't got the will to try and fight against a new tomorrow, so I guess I'll just believe it that tomorrow never comes. I said night, I'm living in the forest of a dream. I know the night is not as it would seem. I must believe in something, so I'll make myself believe it. This night will never go. Oh, the night is my world. City lights, painted girls. In the day, nothing matters. It's the night, time that matters. I live among the creatures of the night. I haven't got the will to try and fight against a new tomorrow, so I guess I'll just believe it. Tomorrow never knows. I said night, I'm living in the forest of a dream. I know the night is not as it would seem. I must believe in something, so I'll make myself believe it. This night will never go.
From self-control to Laura Branigan's very first hit song, coming up on The Hot Ones. Laura Branigan. Learning the ropes of the entertainment business can only come through experience. And Laura Branigan says at first it's not easy. But even as she improves her performing technique and gains confidence in recording sessions and all of the other requirements of today's singing stars, there's one thing success doesn't change.
I think I'm the same person. I think people don't really change once their personalities are developed. I'm an introvert more than an extrovert. I'm definitely not an extrovert, but I've learned to be comfortable around people. I've learned to have more self-confidence and to be able to talk and everything, whereas before, I remember the first TV interview I went on, I think it was Merv Griffin, my mouth dried up and my lips stuck. My cousin said, "You look like a rabbit."
This rabbit was hopping right up the music charts during late 1982 with her first hit, Gloria. Laura Branigan says part of the reason Gloria did so well is because she worked long and hard for its success.
The summer Gloria came out, actually she came out in, I think it was April. And I toured that summer. It was the first time I had sung that much in my life. I had to do all the dance clubs. First show was, I think, usually about midnight. That was early. But sometimes it was at 1, and the next show would be at 4. It was the hardest summer of my life. It was the most grueling. Once I got out there, I was all right, but I wouldn't take a nap before because I was, you have to keep your voice open. So I'd sit there and you couldn't party before anything. It was very, very difficult, and it was hard because it was a bit of a shock to my system because I had never sung that much and had never stayed up that late so consistently.
Losing all that sleep and all that singing paid off. Gloria danced into the top 5, and Laura Branigan's career was launched.